slogging through all of this and giving every word in this book the care and attention that I have bothered with other books, because this book is boring. Boring. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on about stuff that you just don't care about. And I'll tell you why. Because Jada wasn't ready to write an honest memoir at all. So a person who writes a memoir and isn't ready and willing to speak explicitly about their own motivation, to speak explicitly about the difficulty they had with other people in their lives, that's going to be a boring book. So then we end up getting long passages about all her friends in the Bmore streets, long passages about her grandmother's garden, long passages about random encounters with celebrities, but none of the encounters are interesting. It's like, then I, spoke to him at a party and he said he liked to drink water. Then I spoke to this other person and we went and rode dirt bikes and I fell off the dirt bike, but then he said I didn't have to get up again, but I said I would. It's like, okay, it's like just it's all so boring. And this is the thing that's shocking. This book should have been incredibly interesting. If we take what she said and the upbringing that she had, growing up with a heroin addicted mother, thrown into a life of extreme independence on the streets because there was no adults who seemed to want to take care of her. Then cast into Hollywood, her star rose incredibly fast. She's friends with extremely instrumental people, Tupac, in the R&B world. She has all of these experiences at a very young age. This book should have been just like a page turner, like I can't put it down kind of book. But it wasn't, and it wasn't because she wasn't ready to write it. If you grow up with a mother addicted to heroin, that's going to leave its imprint on you. And if you want to tell us that story, please do. But if you want to tell me a story in which you gloss over the fact that you were neglected for the majority of your growing up years by a mother who only was going after that heroin hit, then you suddenly want to write about her as this moral beacon in your life who sort of steered you clear when it came to boys, like, sorry, Tupac can't spend the night. Tupac can't spend the night because he's a boy and I don't like you to have boys sleeping in the house with you. Oh, you can't talk to Will Smith because he's married and we don't talk to married men. Like, the only time she talks about her mom is in this sort of faux maternal way, and we know her mother was not maternal. How could she have been? She was an addict. And, I'm not throwing the mom under the bus. She had her struggles. But Jada, don't tell us about your mom if you aren't willing to tell us about your mom, And if you weren't ready to write that book, honestly, that's okay. Maybe you'll be ready later. Or maybe you'll never be ready to write the honest book. Maybe for you it would feel disrespectful to speak about your mother that way when you knew that she was struggling. That's okay too. But don't come to us with how many pages is in this sorry book? 405-page book about your life, and it's just boring drivel, just so you can say that you wrote this book, this searing memoir about how you came to understand how you're worthy. You didn't. You didn't, because every single story is you being the heroine, even back when you say you weren't worthy. There's an overlay on this whole book in which people are wilding out, and she digs deep and might have been a little bit crazy at first, but in the end, she wraps it up in a pretty bow in which she takes the high road. Always, every single encounter. And then whenever you know that there was like egregious struggle, she sort of pays homage to it by being like, there's a lot to it, but I can't get into it right now. Then don't write a book. Don't write a book. If there's a lot to get into, that's why we would be reading it. It's not so you can be like, well, we'll slap somebody, but there's a lot to get into, and it's just like the story's too long for right now. Well, you just spent 400 pages telling us about nothing. How in the world at this point can you tell me, well, there's just a lot, I can't get into it? You didn't mind telling me about every friend you ever had on the Bmore streets. You didn't mind telling me about all the roses in grandmother's garden. You didn't mind telling me what snacks Grandma Shirley liked. I mean, what are you talking about? You can't get into it. How about you cut some of the trash out of the book and get into the stuff we really wanted to hear? But no, because she wasn't ready to write a memoir. A greater waste of my time I have never known.